Newcastle United.
Good morning! Wakey, everyone. Rise and shine. Up out of bed. Come on. Start a new day. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. And this is the reaction show to Newcastle versus Chelsea, which took place yesterday. But we said we'd do a load of breakfast because we really wanted to see if Chris would make it out of bed. That's the big question we wanted to find out. But he did. He passed the test. But let's say hello to the boys first. Let's go to Pete. It's never too early for Brandy Davy. How are you, Pete?
Yeah, it definitely is too early for brandy. That is for sure. I've got a cup of. It's a rarity. I've got a cup of hot British tea for my loaded breakfast. So yeah, I'll be tucking into that in a second, and a fresh piece of British toast. Breakfast to you all. I'm good.
Breakfast of champions.
Yes, of course.
Chris, I'm guessing you haven't got near breakfast yet, but how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, your prediction was correct. Running a bit late. My mouse isn't working. Not sure why. But and I'm very envious of Pete's breakfast setup there. I was going to run downstairs and see if I could make a coffee in time, but I didn't. So I might slope off at some point just to get a coffee because I
go grab one now, man. Go grab one now.
Mate, no, I didn't want to miss the intro. But on a personal level, I'm good. It still doesn't feel like it's going to be Christmas soon. I don't know about you boys. I'm still not quite there. I don't know why, but no, I'm looking forward. Obviously, can't wait for next week. But yeah, very very entertaining game yesterday, boys. Very entertaining game. Results slightly disappointing. But we'll get into it. Daz, how are you doing, mate?
It doesn't seem like it's Christmas there. It doesn't seem like it's morning yet here because it's just starting to get bright. But yeah, it all good with me. Yeah, look, I think you boys are off now on holidays. But yeah, I've got to work at least another day and a half or so. But apart from that, all good. It's kind of winding down as well. So all good on that front. Let's get into this game, boys. And welcome to the challengers as well. Welcome. Thanks for getting up nice and early, or depending on what part of the world you're in, join us for this one. Smash that like button as well. Let's talk team news first. And this was the Newcastle team. Hall starts. We had question marks over whether Hall would be able to start. Gordon starts instead of Barnes. More about Gordon through the show. Nick Woltemade starts instead of Wisa. And the Chelsea team, big one news there was Enzo Fernandez was on the bench. Would we see him later? Spoiler alert, we do. But Pete, as you're chewing in your toast there, what you make of the team news?
Yeah, you look at the team news, and from a defensive point of view, there's not really much you can do, is there? Great news about Hall. There was rumours. I feel Eddie had us on a little bit there. Not gonna lie, he had us on a little bit there with Lewis Hall. Is he gonna make it? Is he not? I think he was probably more so rested than anything else because that boy did not play like he had a hamstring complaint yesterday, and he definitely had us on there. But yeah, great to see Lewis Hall back in. Resembled very much like, even though we've got so many injuries, it still resembled a back four that you would expect to go into a game like Chelsea with. Of course, Louis Miley at right back, but and I'm sure we'll talk about him in a second. That was really the only anomaly there. But that sort of back five was kind of what we expected. Great to see Ramsey get back-to-back starts for Newcastle United. That's what I want to see. I want to see him playing football. We haven't seen a lot of him, and the bits that we've seen, he's been good. So I was happy with that. I understood the Johan Wiese thing. It was what we did talk about it, didn't we? When we did the cup draw live, it was kind of like we want Wiese to start, but we understand why Eddie Howe wouldn't. And to be fair, Eddie Howe stuck to his guns on that. And like, who are we to complain after what we saw yesterday? So yeah, around the team, you see some kind of sort of expected starters, some unexpected starters. I was a little bit unsure about Gordon. I understood why it might be happening, and obviously give him a chance to impress. But again, who are we to question Eddie? As I'm sure we get into it. The one thing I'm going to say before Chris comes in is that Chelsea pictures, it's ridiculous.
An ice cube.
Who thought that was a good idea for Cole Palmer, one of the best players in the world, to stand there with an ice cube just like that? Like, it's just ridiculous. I know what they're trying to say, but I just think that's just a ridiculous image. Anyway, that's me looking at that.
I agree with that one. Yeah, at least in our one, Bruno's doing a little pointy towards.
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
I've not seen it anywhere, lads. I don't know if you've managed to catch a video of it. Or
No, I haven't seen it either.
Well done by the media team. Well captured. Sorry, Chris. Go on.
And if they only now start to put them in order, then it'll be even easier.
Am I the only one that's annoyed by that? Why is me?
Because it annoys me because it used to be one way, and no one likes change. Really.
Every other team puts them in order of the lineup.
Yeah.
Why do we not do that? I don't get it. We used to.
It does give you a bit of a challenge. Go to work it out and then draw it out what formation we're going to play in. So it keeps us on our toes a bit. Chris, your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I caught up on away days for you boys, and like I said, credit to you lads, because I think I would have made couple of other changes, and it would have been wrong because I was quite adamant in the last show. I thought Johan Wiese would start. I really did. But Big Nick got the nod, which turned out to be great. Anthony Gordon, obviously, remaining in the 11 in terms of the Premier League in any case. And yeah, do you know what, Pete? You make a great point about Lewis Hall, because obviously I was delighted to see Lewis Hall start. First choice left back. Got a great future ahead of him. But yeah, I thought, I wonder how he's going to play. I wonder if he's going to be a little bit, tentative and stuff. And it was like, what hamstring? Because he certainly didn't play like there was any kind of niggle or issue or concern or worry. So that is an interesting one. Louis Marley starting. I mean, again, we spoke about it on the previous show, not away days, but we spoke about it on the previous show that Louis Marley now, seeing him in the 11, it doesn't cause any eruptions. Everyone's reasonably happy to see it, and obviously we know that we're short in defence, and we'll come on to it later. But Louis Marley played exceptionally well. Great to see Jacob Ramsey, as you say, Pete. Great to see him in the starting 11. But yeah, boys, on the whole, I was pleased with the starting 11, and obviously, flashing back to previous times, I'm always intrigued to see what's on the bench. And you can see that we are slightly depleted. That is obvious, with the likes of Shahar and Neve and Ruddy and etc. So that is to be expected. Obviously, Nick Pope isn't as close as what Eddie maybe thought he was. But yeah, and finally, that I hadn't seen that Cole Palmer thing. I mean, I know the whole celebration is this, but you'd think that the media team would get something more than a cube. Even if you stood next to a fridge freezer, maybe that would make it better. You can have that one, Chelsea team. Get them next to a fridge freezer. That looks a bit better.
Get him a jacket for Christmas. That's keep it quiet.
Just to answer the final boss there, we know what it means with the ice cube. We know what it means. Chris just said it. I've just said it. But I just think it's ridiculous how they did it. But I'll give you an alternative there.
Well, they can't rival the loaded media team. Anyway, let's get into the game, boys. I was surprised with the lineup, and Eddie we trust. Well, I was in away days. Our big match preview was I had put Barnes there where Gordon was, and I put Wiese there where Woltemade was. So Oh, hey, Eddie definitely got it right for this one. Let's get into it. First half, Gordon is definitely up for this one. You could see from early doors he was all over everything, and it was like a man possessed. Brilliant to see. Maybe he's listened to Loaded and was calling him out slightly. But great to see. But the 3 minutes, Gordon wins the ball back from as he just possesses Fofana. Murphy with the cross. Gordon with the half volley that's saved, followed up by Big Nick to finish to make it 1-0. Love that picture, by the way. Just shows you the determination of Gordon there and Chelsea. And Big Nick with the finish, boys. 1-0. Thoughts on Big Nick's first goal? Pete?
I loved it. Loved everything about that early part of the game. We started like a house on fire. We went at them. We went for the throat really early on. It's what we've tended to do in a lot of games this season, but I don't know why, boys. I felt like there was just another level of intensity about how we started that game in comparison.
Aggression.
Lots of others. Yeah, an aggression. I mean, I think that image that you put on Daz is really fitting, actually, because it showed everything about what Newcastle United were. They were willing to put their bodies on the line, which is what I said didn't happen last Sunday. We didn't put our bodies on the line for what was like a massive game. We did yesterday. We put our bodies on the line, and Chelsea weren't willing to, which is why that Gusto image is quite fitting for Chelsea Football Club in that first 45 minutes. But lovely play. Well worked ball out to Murphy, who was nice and wide for a long part of that game and got a lot of space to work. And we know what Murphy can do. Yes, he is inconsistent. Yes, he will have worldy games and some games where he's absolutely anonymous. But what we can be sure of is his delivery into the box, and it's a nightmare ball for defenders. Defenders hate that type of cross into the box. They don't know how to defend it. They don't know whether to attack it, whether to leave it. It's in the sweet spot, is what I call it, because the goalkeeper can't commit and the defender can't commit because there's a chance it's an own goal. And what I love about that is that Gordon's already on the move. You can already see him making that sprint to the back post. He is determined to get there, and that was not a run of a player that was timid. That was not a run of a player that was half-arsed. That was a run of a player that was determined to get on the end of it. He put his body on the line to get on the end of that because Gusto does come in and clatters him. I don't know why Gusto's on the floor claiming a foul on him. If anything, it was a foul on Gordon. But Gordon gets there. Great shot to get to it in. It's a great save, I have to say, from Sanchez. Fair play to him to get down there. And Chelsea fans slate him, but he's made a big save there, and not for the first time this season. But the great thing about it is Nick Woltemade and being where we need Nick Woltemade. Sorry, people in the chat. Nick Woltemade being where he needs to be. And that's where we want him to be, picking up those scraps in the box. Lovely finish into the roof of the net. And it's a dream start for Newcastle United. Absolutely dream start and a well-deserved start. It's a brilliant goal all round.
Chris, your take on Newcastle's first?
Yeah, I mean, it epitomised exactly how we started the game. Loads and loads of energy, loads of desire, loads of commitment. And yeah, the ball that came in, really, really good, fizzed in. And yeah, it almost looked like it wasn't going to happen, if that makes sense. But because of the desire, because of that commitment, because there was a willingness to get on the end of it, that's why it ended up with a relatively easy chance in the end for Nick Woltemade. But great work from Anthony Gordon. And he really essentially made the goal happen, because had he not done what Pete's just described there, the chance wouldn't have presented itself to Nick Woltemade. But yeah, to touch on what Pete's just said as well there, it was great to see him in that place. It was great to see him there. In weeks gone by, you may have only just seen Anthony Gordon in there and thinking, where's Woltemade? Why is he not there? Why is he not, fouling in that 6-yard area? And that's exactly where he was. So yeah, great start to the game. And yeah, it was early on as well, wasn't it, boys? It was very, very, very early on.
3 minutes,
yeah. So So no, I was absolutely delighted. I was just seeing my wife's cousin out at that point because he'd just been putting the finishing touches to the skating boards in our living room. So I was half like, and then we scored, and I went mental, and he was looking, and I'm not 100% sure he knew I was a Newcastle fan, but he did after that goal. I think he thought I was a Liverpool fan, and the fact that Chelsea were losing, but that was definitely not the case. And then we started talking about Isaac, but we won't go there because it turned out he was a Liverpool fan, so it turned out that's why we went there. But no, great start to the game, and I was pleased with the intensity because we haven't seen it in a long time, boys. It's been a long time.
I think any more, Chris, I'm going to ask you, where were you for that goal? What was happening? Because there's always a story in the build-up to Newcastle goal. There's always something happening when you're...
It's never just sitting there, is it? Yeah. In actual fact, and I will come on to that with the Reece James goal, because I didn't actually see the Reece James goal, and there is another reason for that, but I won't spoil it for you.
All right, that's something to look forward to. Right, 7 minutes in, Gordon with the shot, saved and over the bar corner. Then with Gattuso on the floor without his boot, fuck him. Ruthless Newcastle. The press is back to Newcastle playing at 100 miles per hour. 14 minutes, Hall with the ball in the net, but whistle goes. It had already gone, actually. Shard did hold back Sánchez in the kind of build up to that when he's thrown it out. Newcastle first every ball. Where was this for the derby? Right, 90 minutes. Free kick. Hall to Gordon. Gordon with the ball to Big Nick, who applies the finish. And here's the Nick's finish. Yes, went to VAR check, but the goal stood. Celebrations for Big Nick. 2-0 Newcastle. Thoughts on Big Nick's second, Pete?
Superb in every way. It is. I think that'll be an underrated goal this season. I really do. I think that everything about that goal was brilliant. The work ball. You know what? I know sometimes we have bad games with set pieces and we go, oh, what's our set piece coach doing? Blah, blah, blah. But we have games like that where set pieces do work. I am seeing an improvement on our set pieces. I genuinely am. I feel like we are working the ball into better spaces and maneuvering into better positions. And this was one of them. And Gordon with an outstanding early cross. It was pitch perfect, and you know when it's a good cross because the commentators, before it even lands on Nick Woltemade's boot, or I think Ali McCoy is already waxing lyrical about the cross because it was absolutely perfect. Whip, bend away from the centre back, but I tell you what, that finish is absolutely sublime. It's a sublime finish. Like, it's so good. That type of ball in can quite easily, you can get too much on it and it goes wide. You can put too much on it and it goes straight into the keeper's arms, or you can not get enough on it and it just trickles to the goalkeeper's hands. Like, you have to have a deft touch to be able to provide a finish like that. And we've got the guy perfect for the task. It was a brilliant ball, a lovely run in and behind as well. I think he was up against Fofana and gets there first, gets that little foot to the ball into the far corner. The goalkeeper's got absolutely no chance to get onto it. I just think that goal is just such an underrated goal. It won't get the plaudits that it deserves because everything about that move was absolutely perfect. And I was, up until the build-up to that second goal, I was praying for us to get a second goal because I felt that we deserved it. I felt our pressure, our push, our aggression, as we talked about, really was telling, and Chelsea were on the ropes. They were all over the place, and it was like we deserved to get that second goal. So it felt justified, is the word for me, when that ball went into the back of the net. And you could see on the VAR, to be honest with you, as soon as they paused the line, you could see the back foot of the defender already far further out than Nick Woltemade. So for me, I was always confident that it was going to be given, even though VAR took an age for something that didn't really look like it was a major problem. So for me, I was already already part ready to celebrate. But it's a superb goal all round, and just typifies an unbelievable start for Newcastle United.
Cool. Chris, were you in Tesco's or anywhere in particular for the second goal?
No. No, I wasn't. No, I was firmly in place for this one. I actually rewound this one a couple of times because Lisa was in the kitchen, and I said to her, I said, "You've got to watch this. You've got to watch this." It was an absolutely fantastic ball from Anthony Gordon. And so often, I mean, you could argue, and I'm not trying to downplay anything at this point, but you could argue that their fullback gave Anthony Gordon far too much room, because Anthony Gordon did his usual, running at the defender, halting play, cutting onto his right side, but then the delivery. I mean, I when I watched it back, you could see, that there was the defender was giving him a good 2 or 3 yards, and if you give someone like Anthony Gordon 2 or 3 yards, you're asking for trouble. But again, to agree with what Pete said, the way that Nick Woltemade put his foot on the end of the ball was brilliant, because you'll know yourselves, boys, and I say this most shows, don't I? But obviously, because we play football, you kind of get a feel for it, don't you? But that ball comes in, and it doesn't need much of a touch. It just needs to change direction. But it's because if Nick Woltemade put too much on it, then there's a potential for it to go wide. There's a potential for it to go over. All he needs to do is just manipulate the ball and just change the direction ever so slightly. And what I liked about it was he gets his leg out, and then you can see that he's just trying to flick it. He's just trying to cushion it into the corner, and it was a great finish. The VAR thing was frustrating, because we kept seeing the still images of it, and then we kept also seeing the replays. And the more that you watched it, Pete mentioned that I think it was the defender's left leg. He must have, his left leg was planted back, and you could see that Nick Woltemade was more than in line with that. The frustration for me was it took so long for the lines to come out, and then when the lines did come out, it was like it's onside. You could see by the naked eye that it was onside. But yeah, a fantastic finish, great delivery from Anthony Gordon, fantastic finish from Nick Woltemade. And I'm thinking, is this guy going to get his hat-trick? I'm technically shut off, but again, I don't want to spoil that.
Yeah, I think that semi-automated offside machine was down, so that kind of do it manually. So it kind of threw them out a bit, so that probably took them a bit longer. But yeah, can we keep going at this pace, because we were at 100 miles an hour, as I said. 27 minutes, Shar volley. But was it his birthday? It said it was on his birthday. Saved by the keeper. 33 minutes. A back heel from Big Nick hits the hand of a fan, but too close. Nothing came of that. The Newcastle press, led by Gordon and Big Nick, pushed Chelsea back. Great to see. 42 minutes. Chelsea ball in the net. Neto uses his arm to put it in. Still 2-0. 44 minutes. Bruno onto Gordon with the ball across to Big Nick on the volley. So close to his third and his hat-trick. I think that's the one you're talking about there, Chris. He was unlucky not to get that one. 45 minutes. Big Nick in again. Bit of a bad touch this time. Another great ball in from Bruno. Unlucky again. 46 minutes. Miley takes the ball off Big Nick's head. And it just goes wide. So shout there would have been good. I think he probably would have got his hat-trick there. But then just to kind of finish that first half, Miley closing out Garnacho. The commentary team of Joe Cole was saying that he reminded him of Paolo Maldini. It's a picture of Miley there. He did a good job on Garnacho, actually. But that took us to half-time. And 2-0. Thoughts on the first half, boys?
45 minutes I've seen Newcastle United play in a very, very long time. A very long time. I said to you boys a while back, maybe even on Wednesday, I hadn't been enjoying watching Newcastle United play for a lot of this season. Well, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. That reminded me so much of the Newcastle United of old, and what we'd seen under Eddie Howe for so long. And it was great to see. We absolutely obliterated Chelsea in that first half. They couldn't breathe because we were on them. I think there was only maybe a 5-minute spell where we lulled a little bit and then we picked it right back up again. It was great. Everyone was at it from minute one. Everyone was on it, pressing, intensity, the aggression, the work rate, everything was there. You see us lose the ball in transitions. We're sprinting back, we're covering space, we're covering each other, we're creating opportunities. I mean, look, if we'd have been 4-0 up at half time, I don't think anyone would have complained. Nobody would have said we were lucky to be in front by 4-0. And you would have seen half of the Chelsea fans already left the building at that point, even at 3-0. If that Woltemade chance goes in, or Miley doesn't get the head on the board and it falls to Woltemade, who could probably bring it down and finish. Gordon's one that you talked about earlier on in the game where it was straight at Sanchez and he puts it over for the corner. For me, probably could do a little bit better there. He puts it either side of Sanchez, and that's us 2-0 up at that point before the second goal is even scored. You know, we created 5 or 6 big chances in that first half to end that game as a contest. It was brilliant to see. You know, all those talks about us not being able to create chances to score or to score goals earlier on the season, well, that game in itself just eradicated that because we can do it. And it was positive to see in one sense, but also, lads, a little bit frustrating because I'm thinking to myself, why did we not see that last week? Why did we not see that on Sunday? Like, it's almost like it's a positive, but also a frustration at the same time. But look, we do have to move on. Eddie Howe is right. We have to move on, and we'll revisit this when we come back to March. But it was a dream first half. It really, really was for Newcastle United. And it was everything that I would have dreamt to have had when we were doing the big match preview on Thursday with Charlie. So I was hoping it would be more of the same. And kicking downhill at the Gallagher, I was thinking, you know, we could potentially run riot at this point.
Was it the best first half performance of the year for you, Chris?
100%. It had everything. I know we keep saying this on here, don't we? But it reminded me of Newcastle of old, Newcastle of a couple of years ago. It had everything. But I do take Pete's point about it being frustrating, because it was frustrating, because you thought, well, if we'd have started every game this season like that, we wouldn't be where we are, because most teams wouldn't have been able to come back in the second half, having been on the receiving end of a performance like that, because really we could and should have been more than 2-0 up. It could have been more. And that's no criticism. It's just the fact that, you know, that's how dominant we were. You know, we could have had the game out of sight. It could have been 3, could have been 4, quite easily. But yeah, it was great to see. It was the first half I really, really enjoyed. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed the second half, but for different reasons. Probably thinking more as like a football fan. Obviously, you know, it was end to end. But that first half was just dominant. But it was nice to see, you know, the lads' effort, the willingness. This is what we've been crying out for the last few weeks, particularly after that derby performance, because we just didn't see anything like that in the derby. But yesterday, we saw, you know, from an early afternoon kickoff, we saw the lads that were up for it, they were keen, and even despite as well, boys, you know, being stretched in terms of team, you know, that was nowhere near our best starting 11. But we still managed to put up a really, really good performance. So yeah, I was really pleased, and I'll be honest, I was excited because I thought, get an early one second half, put this to bed, get the 3 points, go home happy. But it didn't quite pan out like that.
It didn't, but let's get into that second half, because straight away Chelsea were then possessed, and they were up for it. They got an early free kick. Reece James scores direct from that free kick. It was some free kick, in fairness. It kind of went in between where Bruno and Schär were standing, but it was well above them as well and dipped really well. But 2-1. We could really. I don't think Ramsdale could do much about that. But thoughts on the free kick, boys?
I'll be honest with you, Daz. I disagree. I watched it in real time, and I was really, really disappointed in Ramsdale's positioning. It was too far over. I looked at it in real time, and I said it to the lads in the Mags down south. I said, Ramsdale, why is it too far over? He was too far over one side of the goal. He gave Reece James every option to put it into that far corner. He didn't need to stand that far. The ball was so far out. If it had stayed central, he could have covered both sides, depending on where it had gone. I just felt, watch it back, either from behind the goal or behind Reece James. When you see those images, he is far too over. If you're looking at the goal, he's too far over on the right-hand side. And to be fair, he gets close to it, which is even more frustrating, because if he was more central, he makes the save. And that was the thing that I was really disappointed about, because, look, people will say it's a fantastic free kick, and it is because of the distance in which he strikes it. But actually, for me, I think if he gets his positioning right, it's a routine save. He puts it out for a throw-in, he puts it out for a corner, and we're not talking about this as an opportunity. And I genuinely think without that free kick, we grow into the second half, and I don't think it ends up the way it is. I'm annoyed. And you know what? It was quite telling that Eddie Howe, in his press conference or his interview after the game, mentions that moment that changed the game, and it did. And it was a moment that, I mean, like, to concede that early in the second half is exactly what we didn't want. We did not want Chelsea growing in any confidence early on in that second half. If that doesn't go in, I think we get into 10 minutes into the second half and they don't score. Maybe we even conjure up another opportunity and the game swings in a completely different way. It is an important moment. I remember we did something similar against Liverpool at St James's, where we conceded straight after half time. And we've done it a few times, last Sunday. We just have a knack of just not starting as quickly and being as focused as we were in its individual moments. Okay, and that was it. But yeah, in that moment, I thought Ramsdale could have done better. His positioning should have been better, and disappointing. But look, from a Chelsea perspective, Reece James, their best player by a country mile on the pitch. He was absolutely a monster for them, and typically he goes and gets their goal.
Yeah, and he was playing in midfield, obviously, with Enzo on the bench for a little while longer at this stage. But I haven't seen him from behind the goal, like you said. So I must watch that. And I do like that our Arsenal fans are agreeing that Ramsdale was at fault there. But Chris, how about you?
Yeah, so I missed this goal because in real time, I missed this goal because Lisa was mid vapping and she came in. She was in the kitchen vapping away,
like Eminem.
Oh no! So vapping present. She spat the odd tune, does she? Has spat the odd tune, but no, she wasn't rapping. No, she was rapping Christmas presents, and she come in the room, and as our lovely, fantastic wives always do, I must add that extra part in. Her timing is impeccable.
Hi, Lisa. You're obviously listening.
Oh no, she's asleep, but it's just in case she watches it back. And there's any lovely other wives in the chat, and which I'm sure there is, but her timing was impeccable, and she's like, "Oh, can you just run upstairs and get some more presents for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I can." So I thought, then this will be fine. Upstairs, down, goal. Yeah. So, but I have watched it back. It's disappointing. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Reece James, and I don't want to sound based there, because it's a really good goal. It's incredibly far out. He does really well, with the way he executes it. But I think from a Newcastle perspective, you shouldn't really be scoring from that far out. I know a couple of people in the chat saying, it hit the post. There was nothing he could do. I must admit, Pete, I hadn't noticed his position, and maybe I should watch it again. But I think in general, for me, you look how far out it is, and you think, must have a bloody good chance of saving that. So again, I don't want to take anything away from Reece James, but yeah, it was disappointing to concede, and the timing as well, obviously, because we all know, boys, 2-0 is great, but it still leaves the game in the balance, because as soon as the other team can pull one back, all of a sudden it's game on. You think we only need one goal to equalise, and ultimately that's where we were. So yeah, it was the timing couldn't have been any worse because it was early on in the second half, and yeah, I just think from my point of view, my first reaction was good goal, but how's he scoring from there? That was my first thought.
Cool. Let's move on. Not the start we wanted as Enzo warms up. Newcastle have to find the tempo of the first half. Where are you? 52 minutes, strong challenge on Gordon in the box. I have a few pictures of this now to further talk about. Yes, a strong challenge on Gordon in the box. Trevor Chalobah, very lucky, as VAR says no. The commentary team were convinced that it was a penalty, and so am I. Let's look at a few pictures here. This is one of the kind of sideline challenge. Here's another one. Could have been, and this, I think this is yours, Pete. Your picture as well on this photo. But yeah, Stonewall penalty for me. The aggression in that challenge, not even looking at the ball, just wants to get Gordon out of the picture.
Lads, what is the point of VAR? Literally, what is the point of VAR? If you cannot get simple decisions like this right, what is the point? How many people have they got on this? They've got like 7 or 8 like referees or officials manning this VAR situation. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It is a blatant penalty. It is a blatant penalty, right? You cannot make contact like that with a player and not expect it to be a penalty. The aggression in the challenge, it's not a shoulder to shoulder. It's not a knee to knee. He's taking him out. It doesn't matter if he's played the ball. Trevor Chalobah has not made a tackle. He has clattered into a player and not made a tackle. He's made no attempt to get the ball. And that's why it's a penalty. He's made no attempt whatsoever to get the ball. You cannot just clatter into a player like that and expect it to be not a foul. If that happens on anywhere else, and Eddie Howe said it, and he's absolutely right, that happens anywhere else on the pitch where he doesn't attempt to play the ball and he takes out the man, it's a free kick all day long. We've won penalties for similar situations like that, where the player has made no attempt to get the ball and taken out the man. Doesn't matter whether it happens on the goal line, doesn't matter whether it happens on the 18-yard line, doesn't matter if it's in the halfway line. It is a free kick, it's a foul, it's a penalty. How they get that so wrong, I have no idea. And the fact that it was dismissed so quickly by VAR is even more of a joke. They cannot make that decision that quickly and be absolutely justified in it. They have not looked at it back. They've not looked at multiple angles back, because they literally, within less than 30 seconds, had made that decision that it was not a penalty. For me, they have brushed that one aside because they didn't want to make it. Even more so, it's on the referee. The referee was an absolute disgrace all game yesterday. He had one of the worst games I've seen a referee have in a long time. He'd lost his head early in the first half, and he did not know how to regain his composure and his authority back on the pitch. He should have been the one that's making that decision, not VAR. But this goes back to the problem. VAR is a safety net for referees right now. Referees do not want to make these decisions because they are waiting for VAR to save them. And this is the problem. And then they're relying on these guys in a little mobile somewhere to make this decision. That is crazy. It is a penalty all day long. And that flips the game again, because you'd back either one of our boys, whether it was Gordon or Nick Woltemade, to score from the spot. And at 3-1, it's a different game. The game was done for me at that point, because I don't believe Chelsea get back into it. They've been given hope with the 2-1. I don't believe they get back into that game had we got the penalty and scored from it. So it completely halted our momentum to kick on, because at that point we were pushing again. We were pushing forward. We were starting to create chances. But VAR, right, has again made an absolute blunder of a mistake, and it's affected us. It's affected us, and it keeps happening. I don't know when this has to stop, because the annoying thing about it is they'll do their ref show and their ref watch, and they'll do it on Sky Sports News, and they'll have all the previous refs, and there's already been a few that have come out and said Stonewall penalty. Some of these ex-refs, and they'll have all the other refs that will come on, and they'll do ref watch, and they'll go, yeah, we're sorry, it was a penalty, blah, 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 and they'll do all this justification. But how does that means nothing to us now. That means absolutely nothing. He makes no, look, you can see on the images, he makes no attempt for the ball. He doesn't get the ball, and he takes the man out. Yeah, because all he's trying to do is stop Gordon. He's not trying to play the ball. If he goes and tries to make the tackle, but maybe catches Gordon on the way, you can almost understand it because he's attempting to play the ball, but he's not. You cannot justify that as not a penalty if you are not attempting to get the ball. It's a stonewaller. I don't get it. If we were playing Brentford, no disrespect to Brentford, if we were playing Brentford or Wolves or anybody, Crystal Palace, somebody else, that gets given. For me, that gets given as a penalty. I think they're looking at the teams here. I think they're looking at Chelsea. I think they're looking at Newcastle United. I think they're looking at who this decision is being made against, in my opinion. Because I think some of these decisions are made based on the game and the clubs that are in it. And I think that's one of the reasons, one of a number of reasons why they don't give these decisions. It feels like to me that they are using VAR almost as an entertainment mechanism. And I might be going far-fetched here, but I've felt this way for years, by the way. I've said it on this channel years ago. I feel like they're using VAR as an entertainment mechanism. They'll give certain decisions for entertainment value. They'll give certain decisions to cause controversy. And look, what we're doing now at 9:45 in the morning, we're talking about it. It's a hot topic. It'll be a hot topic for days now on in all the media outlets, in all the newspapers, on Sky, all the rest of it. They'll be talking about this decision. And I do feel it is a generated form of entertainment. I do feel like VAR was created and brought in for that reason. And I've got, there's no way that I'll be able to prove that. And maybe it comes out in the wash in years to come. But I genuinely thought that when VAR first was brought in, it was meant to be brought in for the right decisions to be made. But hell, how many years have we had VAR, and how many times have we still had major controversies in VAR when it was meant to stop all of this and eradicate all of this? We've probably had more controversies than ever. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I'll stop talking now because I'm just sick of it. And it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It really does leave a bad taste in my mouth that we did not get that penalty.
No, it's an interesting take on VAR and Premier League. They're not short of content, so they don't need to go down that route. But just go back to the referee, and I just thought of another incident. You remember when there was, I think it was Reece James. He didn't make a decision at the time as well, and he let play go on, and then he let VAR make the decision, and then come back. That was a mess. That whole. It's later in the game, but yeah, I agree with you. He did not have a good game. Chris, did you want to comment on that one?
Mate, I mean, just to add on what Pete said, like, that was one of those decisions where you see it in real time, you think it's a penalty. You watch it in slow motion, and you think it's even more of a penalty. Like, as soon as the obviously, you know, Lisa in the kitchen, she heard me screaming. She comes running in, sees what's going on. I said, yeah, watch this. And then when the replays were happening, it was like, yeah, it's pen all day. It's pen. It didn't even. I didn't even have any doubt. I just thought, right, you know, he's going to go over the screen. They're going to tell him to go and watch it. And then it was just like, yeah, they've just waved it away. And I was thinking, what is going on? Like with Chalobah, I think it's more the force that he uses. Like if Chalobah had gone over, say he ran over alongside him, and then maybe stuck a leg over and maybe just try and, you know, used a little bit of upper body weight on him, and then Gordon fell on the floor. you might go, oh, Gordon's looking for it. And I think William mentioned that earlier. Gordon's looking for it. But he comes in like a steam train. And literally wipes Gordon out. And he doesn't get any of the ball. So if you just look at those 2 points, excessive force, doesn't touch the ball, it has to be a penalty. It has to be. For him to come over and do what he did, he's got to get something on the ball. He has to. He's got to get something on the ball. And what I didn't understand was the fact that, you see some challengers, don't you? Then, they might slightly touch the ball, or maybe they make contact with the ball after the player. There was just no contact with the ball at all. So for me, absolute stonewall penalty. I agree with Pete. It should have been given. But yeah, maybe I wasn't surprised it wasn't given, because given the context and given the fact that Chelsea pulled one back and whatnot. But that's I suppose that's going down the conspiracy theory route, isn't it? But yeah, it that was one of a number of really poor decisions from the referee yesterday.
One of the Chelsea fans in the chat has just said, like, it's a shoulder to shoulder. No, it's not. He's taking him out from the hip. He's literally taking him out from the hip. Like the images that Daz put on a second ago. He has literally look, Trevor Chalobah, where the number 10 on Gordon's leg is, right? That's almost hip to hip. That's not a shoulder to shoulder. And actually, if you look at where Chalobah's shoulders in his back, shoulders behind Gordon. So if anything, he shoved him from behind with a shoulder, and then gone hip to hip with him. That's a penalty, because at that point Gordon is ahead of him. There is absolutely no justification there that should be anything other than it's a penalty. There is no argument about it. And look, obviously we can't change that decision. But I would love to see Chelsea's reaction if they had a similar decision later on this season, how they would react to that. To be fair, there's a few Chelsea fans in here that are arguing the toss on that. But every other Chelsea fan that I spoke to yesterday have all said the same. It was a penalty. Like it can't be anything other. But anyway, it's a shocking decision.
We're all aligned. Definite stonewall penalty. Right, Enzo comes on. Gattuso goes off. Enzo on to say hello to Bruno. 56 minutes. Great save from Ramsdale. As the game goes end to end now at this stage. Big Nick looks. This is my own comment. Big Nick looks like he's out of juice at this stage. Is it time to get Wisa on? But we continue on. 62 minutes. Malik Chow cutting out Enzo, who was nearly connected with the ball across. 65 minutes. Joao Pedro, the Joao Pedro does well here. He keeps the ball in and he takes it past Malik Chow. Malik Chow who slips, and he's one-on-one with Ramsdale, but he makes it 2-2. Thoughts on Joao Pedro's goal here, boys?
Yeah, really disappointing. Disappointing goal to concede, considering it was our attack. I think it was from our corner, from rightly thinking back. So our corner up in the Gallagher, and all of a sudden it's them on the break. What I will say is that I think a couple of people have caught on to this though. It was our attack, and I think Gordon does well down the left-hand side, but he crosses it blind, and there's no one in the box. And if he looks up, he probably holds on to the ball and just recycles it and keeps it moving, because Nick Woltemade is not in the box. There's no one else making a run into. He literally plays it into just an empty area, and he didn't need to do it. If he looks up and sees there's nobody there to actually put the ball in, and there's no point putting the ball into an area if there's nobody running on the end of it. So I look at that in the first pattern of play, and I'm thinking we probably could have done better there. Someone give him a shout, or if he looks up before he crosses the board, he probably holds on to it. So there's that moment. Then obviously Sanchez, great distribution from him. You got to give credit to Joao Pedro for the chest in the maneuver in that one moment, because he does really, really well to pluck that out the air. For me, two things. One, I was really surprised that Malik Chow didn't contest that in the air, I think if you contest that in the air, he's really normally quite aggressive in his aerial duels. I was surprised that he held off him and allowed him to bring that down. Normally he would be up big and strong, bang, get a header in, out of play, let's regroup, we start again. Normally that's his way of playing. So that was a surprise to me that he didn't do that. Secondly, the goal doesn't happen. Regardless of how good it was from Joao Pedro, the goal doesn't happen if Malik Chow slips. That's not Malik Chow's fault. It happens in games sometimes. I'm not going to slate him for that. But for me, if Malik Chow doesn't slip, Joao Pedro never gets the opportunity to put that ball in the net. Because Malik Chow keeps toe with him and makes a challenge or makes it very, very difficult for him to get any sort of shot on. And in fact, he probably keeps toe to him to the point where Joao Pedro holds up play and waits for people to come up, then plays it, and they have a pattern of possession in our half, and the goal opportunity never arises. So I think it's really unlucky from our perspective that the slip happens. But again, those things happen in football. But yeah, I've heard a number of people question Aaron Ramsdale's ability to save that. I'm not 100% there, but yeah, it does look like the finish is a little bit too easy. Maybe he comes out too far, and maybe I'm going a bit too far on that in my assessment. But I'm just going off what a couple of people have said about Ramsdale there, because it does look a little bit tame the way he just kind of size that into the net. It's not an amazing finish, but yeah, he done the hard work at that point, Joao Pedro. So it is what it is. But yeah, there's a couple of things in the build up to that goal that were absolutely avoidable. But yeah, they've definitely taken advantage of our mishaps, and at this point, I had head in hands. I couldn't believe it at that point. Just two goals that slip. And I'll be honest, like I was just worried at that point because there was still a lot of time in the game, and I was thinking, like, please don't go and concede another one, because I didn't know what type of Newcastle United would come back from that. Because look, imagine being 2-0 up and absolutely decimating the team, and then bringing it back to 2-2. Your confidence must be on the floor by then if you're a player on that pitch. And I actually think we did well to pick ourselves back up again, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I agree, Pete. Chris, thoughts on Joao Pedro's goal, and of course a player that we tried to sign on 2 occasions?
Yeah, I mean, just to touch firstly on Ramsdale, I think he could have made himself a little bit bigger, and I think when he looks back on that, he'd think, yeah, I could have saved that. I wouldn't necessarily say he came out too far. I don't know who said that. I know you weren't saying that, Pete. You were talking about people who were discussing it. I wouldn't say he's come out too far, but I'd just expect him to make himself a little bit bigger. I did actually think, which we've said a lot, haven't we, since Aaron Ramsdale's been back on the team, would Nick Pope have saved that? And I was thinking, I think he would have. Yeah, because the actual shot itself, whilst it was a good finish, it didn't have much power. And it almost kind of like just slotted like to the side of him. And I thought, well, if you'd made yourself a little bit bigger, would it have hit your foot? Would you have got a hand to it? I don't know. But yeah, it was good distribution from Sanchez. João Pedro does really well with the header. Although the header, I must say, people were waxing lyrical over it, and whilst it was a good piece of skill, the header doesn't look as good if Malik Chow doesn't slip, because the header almost puts it in the air, not overly, but like changes direction of the ball, puts it in the air. If Malik Chow doesn't slip, Malik Chow will probably just push him to one side and go, yeah, I'll have that. But because Malik Chow slips, it looks like perfect on the eye, if you know what I mean, because then obviously he takes on chest, off he goes. So yeah, it's a good piece of skill from Joao Pedro, and he did need a goal. He really, really needed a goal, because he's been killing me in my fantasy football. And the 1 week I take him out, there he is, pops up with a goal. So yeah, he desperately needed a goal. But yeah, it was disappointing from our point of view, because as Pete mentioned earlier, we were on the attack. It could have been avoided. Maybe Chow could have done better with it, but I do feel a bit harsh on Chow, because you can't criticise a player for slipping, because sometimes it happens. But yeah, disappointing. And at 2-2, boys, I'm just thinking, how is this game 2-2? How on earth have we got to this point where it's 2-2? Because I'm flashing back to the first half, and I'm thinking this should be out of sight.
Chris, don't talk to me about fantasy football because I took Nick Woltemade out of my team and brought in Wisa.
Oh,
No. Eddie screwed me in that one. And also, I toyed with the idea of getting rid of Jared Bowen and bringing in Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But I didn't do that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, yes, that's the same guy that I definitely didn't want at Newcastle. But that's that game. But I want to give a shout out, boys, because to Caroline Mackey. No, I might be pronouncing your surname wrong, Caroline. But Caroline has bought us a beer, boys. She's bought us a beer each. Thank you very much, Caroline. And that's not for the first time Caroline has done that. Thank you very much, Caroline. Much appreciated. And then if anyone else would like to use the link is in the show description. The QR code is on the screen. But thank you very much, Caroline. Much appreciated. Let's get back into it. 71 minutes, front three change. Alanga on, Murphy off, Barnes on, Gordon off, Wisa on, Nick Woltemade off. 73 minutes, Barnes with the penalty shout. Bit too soft goal on that one. Then credit to I was just going to give a shout out to Lewis Hall because he was like an Energizer bunny, and as you said, Pete, at the start, not a sign of any hamstring issues there. He was constantly running everywhere. 77 minutes, Barnes in to score. All he has to do is pull the trigger. It seemed like he was kind of waiting for a push or for the penalty, but credit to Reece James again. But fucking hell, what an opportunity that was for Barnes. I'll move on.
I thought that was 10, by the way, does. But then I watched it back. I watched it back. I was like, no, it's not. I was like,
he's waiting for.
He hasn't touched the ball, and then I seen the replay, and I was like, oh no, he's touched the ball. But it was a fantastic recovery tackle. Really, really good. I've got you credit where credit's due. I don't know how he did it, because I just assumed he'd gone through Barnes to get there, and he didn't. It was just a great recovery tackle. In fairness.
81 minutes, Ramsdale, a save low down from Garnacho. Chelsea apply all the shithousery at this stage as they try to halt Newcastle, pulling back, taking yellow cards, etc. 84 minutes, Barnes on the volley. How was that not getting in? I was up off the seat. I think everyone was up thinking that was going in. This is where the a great bit of play by Newcastle, just wide of the post is where he put the ball. But yeah, so unlucky. It was a great cross, great connection. Just unlucky. 87 minutes. I give a shout out to Alanga here because he was trying. He couldn't cut out Cucurella, Sideshow Bob. On there when he was making a run down the wing. 88 minutes, Alanga collects the Ramsdale throw. He's 1-on-1 with Sideshow again, and unlucky that he shot went just wide. Subs then again, Joe Willock come on for Ramsey at some point. 5 minutes extra time. Then 94 minutes, Barnes is pulled down. Ref plays on. This is at the right at the end of the game. This was the Reece James on. He's pulled. Then the ref stops it and goes talks to VAR, and nothing comes of it anyway. It's just bollocks. Is what I wrote down here.
It's a foul. It's a foul, and it's a red card because he's in on goal.
Yeah,
like he's not got full control of the ball, which is a fair argument with Barnes. But Barnes was running and he was ahead of James. There's an argument that he gets on the end of that, and so again, I think it's a poor decision from the referee and from VAR again. I think it's a red card.
Yeah, you, Chris?
Yeah, I did think it was a red card as well, and also you can tell often, can't you, with the reaction of the players. And I don't know if you boys saw it. I caught it at the very end. With TNT interviewed Reece James after the game, and when he was asked about it, he had like a big smile on his face, and he was like, "Yeah, it's just one of those things. It would have been too harsh to be a red card." So that in itself tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? Because that was just him saying, "Yeah, I got away with one there." because it should have been a red. It should have been a red card. How much difference would it have made? I don't know, because it was so late on in the game. But all the same, the wrong decision was made. I think that's the point.
All in all, though, it was some game. It was okay. Like, it was, you're nerve-wracking, heart stopping at times, but it was just some game of football. And like, credit to Newcastle, that they really upped their game from where they were previously in the Derby defeat. They just came out of the blocks, and I don't think they played too badly in the second half. They got unlucky with the 2 goals, but I'm kind of not happy with the result, but I'm definitely happy with the performance. And if they can start to play like that, and if Gordon can find that kind of performance going forward, that was what he was like the first 2 games of the season until he got the red card, and then he makes his way back into the England squad. But do it for Newcastle first. Do it for your teammates. We know you're well capable of doing it. Get your head in the game. Come out like that, and we can give us 60 minutes of that, and we can bring on Barnes then if that's the way we want to play it. So and same with Nick Woltemade. Give us 60 minutes, and then we swap in Wisa, or vice versa. It was positive things to take, an awful lot of positive things to take from that game. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I was, you naturally we're all frustrated that we didn't win the game, particularly because it's at St. James's Park. But I'm coming away from that going, and it probably adds to the frustration. I'm coming away from that going, you know what? We played bloody well. Even in that second half, as you said, they scored 2 goals, but we created probably 4 or 5 really good chances. Excuse me, 4 or 5 really good chances in that second half, on top of this 5 chances that we created in the first half. That's not been Newcastle United this season. And if we can kind of ball that up and take that into every single game, we will be okay. We will absolutely be okay. We can play with that work rate and that intensity. Now, there may be some games when we go back to playing 3 games a week where we're not able to do that. But in the majority of those games, Saturday to Saturday or Sunday to Sunday, whatever it is, if we can play like that, and we can take that, what we did yesterday, into our away games, I think we beat teams. I think we beat teams. If we can play like that, I think it's on Friday at Old Trafford, I think we've got an absolutely great chance of winning against Man United. I genuinely do. I don't think Man United can handle that type of work rate, intensity, press, that fight for every ball, like Chelsea managed it at times in the game, and they even struggled. I don't think Man United handle that. I just don't think, because if you remember at Christmas time last year, we went with that same fight, intensity, press, and they literally crumbled. Now, it might be a slightly better version of Man United there, but I still believe that if we play like that, then we can get the win on Boxing Day. But it's interesting you talk about Anthony Gordon. For me, I'm not going to go too far. I just need to see Gordon do that back-to-back games, first and foremost. I need to see him do it against Man United. He's earned his starting berth. He should be starting after that, fine, because it was a very, very good performance. But I need to see that again, because what we have seen is that type of performance and then a very, very different performance in the next game, and you're going back to square one again. We need to see that again. Okay, he's got a week's rest nearly now. Every player now has got an opportunity to get proper rest under their belt, a little bit of training that Eddie Howe has been calling for, and then we go into that game at Old Trafford, and we need to see that again. So for me, I'm walking away going, yeah, okay. I can see the vision of what we can become in this second half of the season. And you look at all things involved, and you're thinking, if we can manifest that, we're okay. We've got a run of games now. Man United, Burnley away. Then I think we've got Palace and Leeds at St. James's Park in our next 2 into the new year. You're looking at those 4 games, and you're looking anywhere between 10 and 12 points, ideally, that we could be looking at, and we should be looking at. And I think if we can get anywhere near that sort of number, we're in a position where we'll be where we need to be, or certainly where we want to be, going into the rest of those January fixtures. So lots of positivity. And you know what, boys? We haven't talked about it. We're doing that with having a 19-year-old centre midfielder playing right back. Because I tell you what, we haven't talked about him. Louis Miley was absolutely superb yesterday. He was absolutely superb. What a performance from that lad. You touched on it briefly, Daz, when you put the picture up earlier on in the show about Louis Miley playing right back up against Garnacho. He didn't just play up against him. He absolutely pocketed him. He pocketed, right, as a guy that's only played in that position, twice before yesterday? Yeah. He absolutely pocketed him. He was absolutely brilliant. Not just from his defensive point of view. From Wednesday to yesterday, he'd already understood his defensive responsibilities better than he did on Wednesday night. He's come up against a better winger and been able to deal with it. I say better, well, I'm saying that loosely, but come up against a better winger and dealt with it. Certainly a better team. But what I love about Louis Miley is his ability on the ball. He, at times, comes into midfield. You know how we've had Man City do that with the likes of Kyle Walker, Reece James does it for Chelsea, and you have a few other teams that do the same. Trent used to do it for Liverpool, coming to that midfield. He's our version of that, because at times he came into midfield and just added an extra midfield body. His ability on the ball is so good. In that first half, the amount of tight spaces he was in with the ball, and he'd just turn his man and he'd be bang on possession, moving the ball forward, putting it in and behind for Murphy. It reminded me a little bit of what Trippier does, like for Newcastle United. When Trippier first signed, he was that guy that was so assured on the ball, and he would just be able to take the ball in tough situations, but hold possession and make things work. Tino's not like that, because on the ball, Tino's not as good as Miley and as Trippier. Tino's all athleticism. He's all running, all kind of like back and forth, being able to use his pace to his advantage. But Miley's just got that football intelligence about him that he can just hold possession and keep things ticking over. And our right-hand side of our attack has absolutely benefited from having Louis Miley there. We're able to sustain attacks even more so now than we were previously. And he is a big part of that. So massive well done to him. And isn't it weird that we've got no Tino, we've got no Trippier, and we don't look out of place as the defensive unit? It's just mad to say. But look, loads of positives to come out of that game. Didn't get the result we wanted, but take that into Man United, and I think we'll be talking on a reaction show. Very, very happy after that game.
Hopefully. Do you know something else that Louis Miley has that Eddie Howe likes? You'll know this, Pete. He has height, because he's good on the corners as well. Good at getting his head on the ball. And look, even friend of the channel, Sean Casey, he's talking about Miley potentially making it into the England squad for the World Cup. Which is interesting. Interesting. See how it plays out for him over the next little while. Chris, anything you want to comment on the overall result, or anyone you want to single out as I nip off for a sec to check?
I'll be honest. I wanted to single out Louis Miley, but Peter's done it ever so well, because he was absolutely fantastic. And it's interesting what you say, Pete, because when you were talking about Louis Miley being able, to go into that central midfield role, because that's predominantly, his main position. That's the beauty of having Louis Miley right back and Lewis Hall left back, because Lewis Hall can do the exact same thing from left back, which is great, because obviously we know that he's played some of his career at centre midfield as well. So and what I don't know about you, Pete, but what made me think as well when you were talking about it was, is Eddie Howe looking at this situation now, knowing that it's going to be a big summer for Newcastle United, knowing that if all the rumours are believed to be true, that Manchester City are most probably going to be going for Tino Livramento, is Eddie Howe looking at Louis Miley and going, do you know what? we could have our right back here, our next in line. I don't know, but it just his performances, as we saw a couple of years ago in the Champions League, he doesn't look like a 19-year-old kid, does he? Playing at right back, he doesn't look phased. And yes, I'd take your point, about Alejandro Garnacho. He's not the best, is he? But you have to say, he too is quite a young lad, but he's played in some really big games, and he's played some really good matches for Chelsea. But Louis Miley just absolutely shut him down that game. And if he continues to keep doing this and keep performing at the level that he is, yeah, who knows? Because having players like Louis Miley who can play in multiple positions, bring you that athleticism, bring you that energy. Maybe Thomas Tuchel will be looking at it and going, you know what, I wouldn't mind having him in and amongst the squad. Who knows? I suppose it will depend how much football Louis Miley plays now between now and the end of the season. But for me, and I think a few people in the chat as well, Louis Miley is one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment. And every time I see him in the lineup now, I'm pleased. Because he's playing exceptionally well. He really, really is. So we've seen him in a 6. We've been impressed with him. We've seen him at right back. We've been impressed with him. We know that he can play in one of the more slightly advanced roles, as the 8 or the... I'm trying to think of another number. The 8 or the 7, maybe. So we know that he's got it in his locker. Yes. Yeah, of course. I'm excited about Louis Miley. And... he's playing exceptionally well. And I think in terms of other performances, obviously Anthony Gordon, that first half, we have to highlight him. He was exceptional. But as you mentioned earlier, Pete, we can't get too excited because this needs to be consistent. This needs to be over a period of games. My biggest frustration from this match, aside from not winning it, obviously, is the fact that we're 17 games in and we're talking about the best half of football that we've seen this season. And you just think, if only this was the 3rd or 4th game or something like that. That's been my only frustration because it almost feels like Eddie's ripped up the rule book, gone back to basics and gone, right, let's bring a little bit of what Newcastle were all about not that long ago. And he has, which is great. And we've all enjoyed watching. I mean, you can tell from this reaction, boys, we were winning 2-0. Probably should have won it, been out of sight. And we've drew 2-2, but we're still all talking really positively. And that's because of the performance we've seen. That's because we've seen the effort, we've seen the endeavour. We've obviously a couple of things haven't gone our way, whether it be the referee, whether it be, a free kick, whether it be a slip, whatever it may be. But we're coming off the game and thinking, you know what, we give a bloody good account of ourselves there. And you can see the vision, you can see where we were trying to go. I'm pleased, but just a little bit frustrated as well because I just wish we'd seen this before now, if I'm honest. The last time I can remember this was when we played Liverpool at St James's Park and we were down to 10 men. That was probably the standout performance for me, that second half against Liverpool. But yesterday was really good, particularly the first 45 minutes.
Right, let's have a quick glance at the table, boys, and then we get some questions in. Right, this is the table, and we're sitting in 11th spot, 23 points. We do know Man United are playing Villa today, and Fulham and Forest have to play as well. They're the games remaining in this game week, let's say, but back again on Boxing Day / Stephen's Day pretty soon. Or that round of games, let's say, I should say, because I know a lot of the games are on the 27th. Anthony, you want to touch on the table before we go to some comments or questions?
Yeah, it's kind of like we're still in that position where, we're like 6 points off. We're 6 points off 4th. So we're not out of. We're still in touching distance, even though we're still not picking up those 3 points. I think it's like we've only lost 1 in 7. Is that right? We lost one in our last 7 games. So even though we're frustrated at the draws with Chelsea and Tottenham, we're still in a good position, and look, it's still in our hands. If what I expect happens today happens, in that Aston Villa put Man United to the sword, there's a huge possibility that a win on Boxing Day puts us ahead of Man United, and probably ahead of one of Everton, Brighton, or Palace, or even more at that point, which will put us into the top half of the table for the first time in a long time this season. So that then changes the mindset. Then you got Burnley. Then you go on after that. We've got teams like Palace coming up in a couple of weeks' time. We've got an opportunity to start making some ground on the teams that are ahead of us, and we've just got to stay positive. We've got to stay positive in this moment that the results will come. Chris, I know you just touched on the fact that, you know, obviously it's mid to end of December and we're only just seeing our sort of best half of a performance this season. I know it shouldn't be an excuse, but we have had a very disrupted season.
We are.
So we're obviously the summer's the summer. We know about that, and that was disrupted to our start of the season. But not having your £55 million striker available until now, I think, is a huge thing. You know, Nick Woltemade was absolutely superb. But the one thing I'll say about Nick Woltemade is that isn't it typical that now Nick Woltemade is able to get some rest, not have to play every minute of every game? You're now seeing I saw Nick Woltemade as a fresh version of himself against Chelsea. That was all action, all running. For however long he was on the pitch, he gave everything to the cause, and he wasn't gassing as early as the 45th minute. He lasted a little bit longer because he's been getting that rest, and we've now got options that we didn't have earlier on in the season. You know, you've got Louis Miley that's growing into a new position onto the pitch. You've got for a while now. You got Tonali and Bruno on the same pitch. Okay, that's a big thing as well, because he's been dovetailing both of them, playing one or the other. I know they're playing at Sunderland, but normally they're playing one or the other to kind of give them rest. Like, you go around the team and you think, we didn't have Tino and Hall for God knows how long, you know, in this season. We didn't have them bombing forward. We saw what a difference that made. So there's a lot of caveats to why we've maybe not been the team that we have been. But looking forward, we're halfway through the season nearly, and we're only 6 points adrift. There is no reason why this second half of the season can't be a really, really positive one, and it can't be a second half of the season where we go and win 2 or 3, 4 games on a row. We don't need to do a 9-game run this season. That's my biggest takeaway from this. With how inconsistent this league is, and you put that table back up again, Dad, if you don't mind. With how inconsistent this table is this season. Brighton have been inconsistent. They drew against Sunderland. Palace just got tucked yesterday, 4-1 against Leeds, inconsistent. Everton, you would never have thought that Everton would be ahead of us after we took them at their place, 4-1. But they are. You know, Brentford are inconsistent. Tottenham are inconsistent. Look at them yesterday. Bournemouth are being talked about having a super season. Now look at them in 14th. It's such an inconsistent season that I don't think that we need to go on a 6, 7, 8 game run. If we do, we'll be up near where Villa are, who are on a 7-game winning streak.
I take it though, Pete.
Of course, but this is the thing. Like, it wasn't a couple of weeks ago, Daz. We were putting our hat on. Could we have that run? Could we go and put 6, 7 games in a run and win all those games? I don't actually think we need that. Like, we've lost 1 in 7, and we're 6 points off. But if we put a run of, say, 3 or 4 wins together, I think that propels us up the league, because I'm not convinced that the teams around us are going to win that same amount in that same time. So this is why I say, you look at these next 4 games: Old Trafford, Burnley, Palace and Leeds at home, which would always back us at St. James's Park. If we could go and put, for example, it's easier said than done, but if we, for example, go and put those 4 games in a row, and then what we got Wolves after that in the league. Yeah. So again, relegation rules. You go and put a run of, say, 3 or 4 wins in a row in those next 4 or 5 games, and you're propelling yourself up the league, and you're asking, and we're having a different conversation here. I just feel like the second half of the season can be a really, really good one I'm not saying we'll get Champions League football, far from it, but we could definitely be within where we want to be by the end of the season if we start now. We've got players coming back. We've got Reece now back fit. We've got the January transfer window where we have to go and invest. We've got everything around us to really build to the second half of the season. And the point I'm trying to make on all of this is it's the second half of the season that now matters. Everything beforehand goes. Forget everything beforehand. What we do now can absolutely make the difference. And we've seen teams like Villa. Villa went on that ridiculous run of 10 games at the back end of the season and just missed out on Champions League. All it takes is a good run of games in the second half of the season and you're opening it up again.
I agree exactly what you're saying, Pete. I think though it's all about away games. These next two, if we can get if starting with the Man United game, if we can turn up at an away game at Old Trafford and perform to half the ability we did yesterday, we win this game. Same with Burnley. It's a chance to put our away form to bed. We got 2 wins there away from home. Then the mindset might and the mental aspect around away games may change. So I think these two closing out the year are vitally important. Chris, anything else you want to say on the league table before we go to some comments and questions?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just that the league table's starting to take shape for me now. Because, not so long ago we were saying, we're only 2 or 3 points off top 4 or top 5, whatever it was at the time. And now you can see that we're already saying, 6 points. So I think now we're at, excuse me, we're at the business end now. This is where we've got to be serious. We've got to really try and kick on and try and get as many wins and points as we can, because we are still within touching distance. We're only 6 points from that top 4, as we mentioned. So for me now, it's just about we've got a reasonable run of games, I would say. We've got a decent run of games, and there's no reason why we can't go on a little run. Even if we win, 3 or 4 out of 5, we're still going to find ourselves, in my opinion, over the likes of Brighton, Palace, Sunderland even. But we've just got to find that consistency. We need to see more of that first half that we saw yesterday consistently throughout matches. And even if we get to half-time, boys, if we've got to make changes at half-time, so be it. The one criticism I'd have of yesterday in terms of tactically, I think we should have made the subs earlier. I think we waited a little bit too long. I think it was evidence, that we could have done those subs earlier. That would be my only criticism. But again, I don't want to jump on any bandwagons or anything like that, because I thought we played really well yesterday. It was just unlucky that we couldn't get the 3 points. But yeah, we're still very much in there. We're in the mix, and that's the most important thing. But we've just now got to back up this performance, these results, and make sure that we, go on a run and try and pick up as many as we can.
Okay. What have you got for us, Chris or Pete, on the questions?
Right. So, yeah, go on, Pete. Tell you what, go on, Pete. You fly through some, mate. Go for it.
No, I'm just saying there's some good ones here. Have we had this one before? No. Became a member.
Welcome back, Nova.
He has come back. So Nova, absolutely great to see you back in. And Conrad, member for 26 months. Happy Xmas. Hope Santa brings a decent ref on the top. We're all hoping for that after that absolute shambles yesterday. But Conrad, spot on. Great stuff, and great to see you in there. Truls is back with a vengeance, gifted 5 Loaded Mag NUFC memberships. Massive thanks, Truls. Great to see you on. We don't see you in the chat enough, but great to see you, and thank you for those Loaded Mag memberships. Just checking there's any others. Jordan 2 for Life says, morning lads, fantastic game to watch for any football fan. Let's be honest, a world-class free kick that no keeper would have stopped, and a slip from Chow. So it wasn't bad play. I'll question that. That no goalkeeper should say, because I did find the picture from behind the goal. So if you take the comment off 1 second, there we go. So you look at his position in there. For me, I think he needs to be more central. If you look at if he's standing right identical to the penalty spot. So if he takes a couple of steps over to his right-hand side, he still has full vision of the ball. And he covers both spaces. And I think that asks a question of Reece James about where he can put the ball. I think it asks a different type of question for him. I think it gives him too much license to put it over there. He does, in my opinion, as it just comes on my screen again, as I'm watching TV, I don't think he needs to. I don't know if you guys agree, but I'm looking at that.
Yeah, I'm rolling back, Pete. I'm agreeing with you here because even if he took a half step, if he's not exactly, he just a little bit more towards the middle, but not completely in the middle, he saves it then probably because he does get close to it. So no, I didn't see this picture before. Still a good free kick.
By margins.
Yeah.
By margins.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. But another one for Jordan 2 for Life, Miley, Woltemade, Hall, Gordon, all have fantastic games. And let's not forget, it's been one hell of a busy time, game-wise, with very little recovery time. But we have to get used to it if we want success. So another comment in there as well. Absolutely. And all those players did play well. I'll go to another comment really quickly before I come to a question. In the words of Gattuso, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe, as the classic Gattuso line is. I'll come to a question. This first one, should it really be about the manager after yesterday? I'm not quite sure. It says, great coach, but poor manager. Thoughts? What are your thoughts, boys? Daz, what are your thoughts on this? Should it be about the manager after yesterday's result?
No, we got unlucky in 2 occasions, and even Eddie Howe's comments afterwards, and Bruno's comments as well. Everyone is disappointed that we didn't get what they wanted to achieve, to get the victory, to kind of repay the fans in the league after the Derby defeat. Unlucky on both occasions with the free kick and the Joao Pedro keeping it in the slip from Malik Joe. I don't think, for me, it was kind of an advertisement as well of why I want Eddie to stay. That type of football was just a brilliant spectacle as well. I have nothing negative to say about Eddie on yesterday's game, and he got it right in starting Gordon and Nick Woltemade. But we were all saying Barnes and Wisa, but he made the call and it worked out for him.
Right, absolutely. Chris, I'm going to bring you a different question here. This is from Jimmy Watt. I'm getting sick of Eddie bringing like for like on instead of changing the formation. Why not play Woltemade as a number 10 as he does did? He's in the full squad now, German under-21s. He did this with Isak and Wilson, like for like. Have you got an issue with the like for like changes that he makes, and would you want to change your formation in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a change of formation if Eddie had spotted something mid-game, where there was an opportunity to bring a player in, to try and mix things up a little bit. Unfortunately, most managers are very, very set, by their formations, and so, there is always a tendency to bring on like for like. So keep the same system, keep the same formation, and then just bring on fresh legs. However, would I like to see more of Eddie experimenting? Yeah, potentially. But the issue is, obviously, if he does experiment and it backfires, that then obviously ultimately lands at his door, because then people say, well, it was working when you were doing 4-3-3. Why did you change to a 4-1, a 4-2-3-1? Or why did you change to a 4-5-1? Why did you do that? So there is always that, issue. But I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see Eddie roll the dice a couple of times, so to speak. But he is very methodical in the way that he manages the team. So yeah, yes is the answer. I would like to see it, but then on the other hand, I don't think it's just Eddie. I think a lot of managers are like this as well, especially in the modern game.
Just in addition to that, do you think we need another striker coming in January to allow us to do that? Because obviously playing the likes of maybe Wisa and Woltemade together, that you're then losing having another striking option coming off the bench potentially. Do we need a third striker in to be able to play a formation or a style like that in game or from the start?
I'd say so, yeah. Because you can't have your two only fit strikers. I still won't class Anthony Gordon as a striker. So, yeah, I do think we need a third striker, because then that would allow you to have that third striker on the bench, or one of Vissa or Woltemade on the bench, which means then you could freshen it up. I think most teams will acknowledge that you need three big strikers, unless, of course, you're Man City. You do need three strikers in order to kind of, fully manage a full season competing on four different fronts, which is what we're aiming to do. And I, for one, hope that we do bring in a third striker. Obviously, the third striker at the moment that we have is Willa Sula, but he's out injured. But let's see if Willa Sula is still a Newcastle United player come the end of the January transfer window.
Yeah, I don't think he will be. That's just my initial thoughts on that. But I'm sure we'll get into that at some point over Christmas. Daz, a question for you here from Adnan Ali. He says Bruno G should have been rested. Do you agree with that?
I'd never rest Bruno, and Bruno. It's only on the rare occasion that Bruno does get rested or is even open to that, because but probably the best time to rest Bruno is when he's coming back from an international trip, which involved a long haul flight, because we don't get the best out of him then, or maybe we do for the game directly after that, and then the next game he suffers. But not for this one. No, I wouldn't have rested Bruno G. Then you're throwing J7 in there, or Willock, but no. And Bruno leads the charge. He played in the kind of number 8. He unlocks the defenses with his passing. He's the only one for us that can unlock at the moment. We might see a bit of that from Ramsey at some stage, but so no. Sorry, Adnan Ali.
I agree. Bruno Guimaraes has covered more ground than any Premier League player this season, and he did that last season and the season before. He's a guy that is an absolute workhorse, and I agree with you, Daz. That's probably the one time that you would look to rest him after those long haul flights from internationals. And I think previously we've not been able to rest him, but with the emergence of Miley and now Ramsey playing well, I think this is the first time since he signed for Newcastle United where you could actually probably get away with it. Have Tonali in there, have a Ramsey and a Miley either side, or Joe Linton when he's fit, etc., coming back in. And you've now got an opportunity to maybe rest him, but certainly not right now. Additional question for you boys, for both of you. Do you find it strange that Joe Linton's on the bench and not getting on at the moment? Chris, I'll ask that to you first.
Yeah, I suppose. I just put it down to the fact that maybe he's not fit, like fully fit. Obviously, I know that he's appearing in the matchday squads, but this is. But I found this season to be a bit weird anyway in terms of Joe Linton. Sorry, not Joe Linton. In terms of Eddie's announcements over certain players, not more so recently or yesterday than when he said about Lewis Hall and his hamstring, and then Lewis Hall comes out and plays a fantastic game. Doesn't appear to be suffering with any hamstring issues. It's almost like there's a little bit of skullduggery going on. But I know where you're going with this, Pete, because we've spoken, haven't we, in the recent months about Louis Miley coming in and being that that person to take Joe Linton's place in the centre of the midfield on the left hand side. And we've been crying out for another left centre mid as well. So we've been bringing in an extra body and maybe losing the likes of Joe Willock and refreshing the midfield a little bit, because Joe Linton hasn't looked right. He hasn't looked the same as he's done in previous seasons. And you do wonder if that maybe his time at the club's come to an end and maybe he's being phased out. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting one, because rewind a year, 2 years ago, this game, if Joe Linton was even 70% fit, Joe Linton's playing in that game, 100%. So the fact that he's not playing Joe Linton, or unless, of course, he's looking at the games coming up and he's thinking, that's when I'll need Joe Linton. Who knows?
Yeah. Go on, Daz, your opinion on Joe Linton? Is it strange to you that he's not been even coming off the bench? Not that he's not starting, but he's not even come off the bench.
No, it's not, to tell you the truth, because there's players that are playing better than him starting, and he will get a run out of games as well. But he's always good for a yellow card as well. No, not surprised that he's not starting. He's going to get games in this because we're playing Man United and Burnley, and they're kind of close together as well. So Burnley, I think, is where I throw him in.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. I'm actually glad because it's allowing Ramsey to get a start. And I've got to be honest, I actually don't. Even though I think it's probably the best thing that he moves on in January, I don't think Joe Willock's put a foot wrong really since he's come on and he's been involved in matches. I think his work rate's been good. Yeah, we know he's limited with the ball at his feet, but he's running in his work rate off the ball for the team has been excellent, and I've not got an issue with him. And you probably put him those two ahead of Joe Linton, and I think Joe Linton needs this. I think he needs to kick up the backside that he's not going to be a guaranteed starter for every game, and he can't just put abject performances in and expect to be in the team again. I think Joe Linton's frustrated by it. He was frustrated coming off against Leverkusen because that was his opportunity to shine and to prove himself. But I think he needs to kick up the backside to go, if you're not playing well, you're not in the team. So I'm all for it. And if it means that Joe Linton comes back all fit and firing and he starts adding goals to his game and putting in good performances, then we benefit as a team.
Exactly, Peter. Look at has done Gordon no harm getting that kick up the backside as well of sitting out a few games. So
hopefully,
so far.
That's the one. So far, we'll reserve judgment for Man United, but he was superb yesterday. Another one. Chris, Shaw needs replacing.
I think we've known that for a long time, and technically, I think Shaw has been replaced with Malik Chow, but obviously because we've got Dan Burn out and we've got Sven Botman out, we're not feeling the benefits of that. I mean, when I say Shaw needs replacing, I'm a huge fan of Fabian Shaw, and I think he offers us things that maybe the other 3 centre backs or 4 centre backs, if you include Jamal Lascelles, don't offer us as much. I still think that Fabian Schär's got plenty in the tank, and I hope he stays for the remainder of this season and probably next season as well. I think Fabian Schär is a very good understudy centre back. I just wish he was like 5-10 years younger because he'd just be brilliant. But no, he's getting on now, Fabian Schär, and I get where Adnan's coming from. But you need squad players, and the reason that Fabian Schär's playing so often, if as I say, you're not as keen on him, is because of the injuries we've got in defence at the moment.
I want to get in here. I'm sorry, and Ali, I'm disagreeing with you again. I am absolutely delighted we still have Fabian Schär because what a backup he is. Think back to the game before this one. The ball he played to Murphy send it across to Wisa, and what he does for us, and he's okay. His free kick was poor when he took the free kick, but he's a threat, and his volley could have gone in as well. I think there's loads of clubs that would love to have in the Premier League that would love to have Fabian Schär. So I'm delighted he's still with us as he's not a starter. He's that kind of backup. He's like what Jamal Lascelles was a couple of years ago. He's kind of our backup now. So yep, he can stay for me, sure.
I thought Fabian Schär played well yesterday. And the only issue I had with Fabian Schär is, and someone else had put it in the chat, and it was something I noticed watching the game, is that because he was driving forward and going up for set pieces, when they were catching us on the counter, he was really slow getting back in. And he's never been the fastest of sprinters anyway, even in the best of times. But Fabian Schär should be staying at Newcastle United as a squad player. That's what he is now. If he's not happy about that, fine, he moves on. But he's absolutely a squad player because Malik Chow starts, and whichever the left-sided centre-back is of Burnham Botman then starts alongside him. That is the centre-back pairing effectively, and he is going to be a squad player. If he wants to go off and play regular football and move elsewhere, fine. But I thought he played well yesterday. I don't think he really did much wrong in the game. So I've got no issue with him. So I don't think he needs replacing. I don't think it's an area really at this moment in time that needs replacing. If Fabian Shaw turns around at the end of the season and goes, you know what, I want to leave, I want to play some regular football, fine. At that point, then go and get a new centre-back to come in, to add, to make the 4 centre-backs that you need. But at this moment in time, I've got no issue with it, really. Jordan 2 says, Senesi at Bournemouth, his contract's, I think, out at the end of the season. He's a good centre-back. He is a good centre-back. I wouldn't be against someone like that coming in. Sort of a cheap deal who's a good add to the 4 that we've already got. So I'm not against that at all. Jay says, what's your thoughts on Ramsdale? Should Pope come straight back into the team? Obviously, Pope just missed out on being available for this game. There's probably, Eddie Howe said he's the most likely of all the players to be available for the next game. So could well be in the squad at Old Trafford. Would you stick with Ramsdale or would you put Pope back in? Where are you at?
I don't believe anyone when it comes to Nick Pope because we at this stage we should have seen him 3 weeks ago from the original reports that came out that he was ready, almost ready. So I think Eddie will bring Nick Pope back in though when he is fully fit to go. Ramsdale hasn't done much wrong. What would be interesting if you could see what Popey would have done for the 2 goals that were conceded yesterday. But like that long throw, look, Nick Pope has that in his game. The long throw, accurate pass. And Ramsdale did one to Alanga yesterday as well. So we have the kicking aspects of Ramsdale brings obviously, and it's the players are more comfortable passing the ball back to him. They're not panicking in doing so. So I think Eddie brings Pope back in, but what would I do? I don't know. I'm at 6s and 7s on this one, really. What I do.
What would you do, Chris? For Man United?
For Man United, I'd keep with Ramsdale. I'd keep with Ramsdale, but I think in the new year, I think Nick Pope, when he's fully fit, fully ready to go, I think Nick Pope will come back in. I've just got a feeling. I think Eddie Howe sees Nick Pope as his number 1. I think Nick Pope will come back in, but will probably be in the new year. And I do wonder whether this is a little bit like the Joe Linton, a little bit like the Lewis Hall conversation where, we're masking. And that's what worries me a little bit over Tino as well. Because it's like, oh, he's fine. He's not too bad. We won't see him this year, but he'll be in the new year. And I'm thinking, does that mean like it's really horrendous and he's just playing it down? Because it certainly didn't look minor. And you could tell kind of from Tino's face as well. So I'm also mindful of that in that maybe Pope isn't as close as what people say he is.
Yeah, but whenever he's back, he'll come in as number 1 for me. It reminds me very similar of the Dubravka situation last season. This time last year, Dubravka was in whilst Pope was injured with his knee. As soon as he was back fit, he was straight in as number 1. I think it'll be the same again. But yeah, up until that point, Ramsdale will start, and I think he will continue to do so. But it'll be interesting about when he comes back in. Jonas says, I've heard Joe Linton and Botman are fit again for this Saturday. Is that correct? Joe Linton was on the bench anyway, so I think he'll be on the bench again. But anyone heard any news about Botman? I think Eddie did say New Year, unless he's pulling an Eddie on us.
I'd love to see him back though. Just as well, another option for us. Then Fabian Schär would step down to the bench, and Botman would play. But or Eddie would do his thing. He'd ease him back in first, and then start him the next game after that. But yeah, we need him back.
Yeah, I think the ideal situation would probably be he's on the bench against Man United. This is a hypothetical because we don't know for sure. On the bench for Man United, and maybe getting a start away at Burnley as a game to bring him back in and start to give him those minutes into the new year. But anything to add on that, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that, I think it would be harsh if you dropped either Chow or Shah at the moment. But it'd be great to have Botman back in the squad and back as an option. Because, I don't think Chow or Shah have done much wrong in recent games. And, I do love the passing ability of Shah. And whilst I know Botman has that in his locker, Fabian Shah, he brings with him that experience as well, doesn't he? But yeah, I mean, it'd be great to have Sven Botman back in the squad as an option, and obviously it allows you to rotate as well, which is great. And in terms of Joe Linton, yeah, I'm just interested to see what version of Joe Linton we get when he does finally make a reappearance, because hopefully he'll be rejuvenated and eager to try and win his place back in the team. I'm hoping.
Yeah, we absolutely hope. Another question here. Where is it? Just had it a second ago and it's gone. Hold on a second. This one, Chris, I'll start with you on this. Guys, what was your feeling when Elanga came on? Be honest. Elanga getting a lot of criticism at the moment from the Newcastle fan base for some of his performances. What was your opinion?
To be honest, my opinion with Elanga, every time he comes on, I'm always hopeful. I never see him come on and think, oh, it's Elanga. I'm not at that point yet. I just think, oh, maybe this is the game where he'll do something. Maybe this is the game where he'll kick on. Maybe this is the game where, the penny drops. That's how I always feel when Elanga comes on. And then I start seeing, the not great first touch, maybe the wrong decision being made, running into blind alleys. It is frustrating. I was particularly surprised as well. Daz touched on it, when Ramsdale played the ball through to him. I just expected him to turn the jets on. I was surprised. Cucurella, I know Cucurella's not slow, but I thought he'd outpace Cucurella. I thought he was gone. I got really excited because I thought he's in here. But Cucurella kept up with him, and then as soon as Cucurella got level with him, it sounds horrible, but I just knew it was over. I knew it wasn't going to happen. And then when you watch the replay back, not that I feel he should have, because some people will criticise him for this, and I won't criticise him for it. But when he tries to bend it in, and he wasn't far off, to be fair. There's actually a pass on. I forget who it was who was on the right. There was a pass on.
Barnes. There was two of them.
Yeah. Now, but you could argue that he had every right to do it. But I don't know. Yeah, but when he comes on, yeah, I'm still in that phase where I'm like, oh, we could do something here, or oh, this could be his moment. I'm not groaning as such. I only groan when I see what I see. That tends to be when I groan.
That's your thoughts.
It's not so much Elanga coming on. It was my thoughts here. It was like, why is Murphy coming off? Because I know it's fatigue, but I was thinking Murphy whipping the ball for Wisa. I had visions of Wisa getting us the winner, but he changed all the full front three all in one swoop. But Elanga, I'm feeling generous. I'm going to back Wisa up here. He did put in a good challenge to cut out Cucurella and when he was bombing down the wing at one stage, and he also, that one, like Chris, I thought he would do more with that, but look, it definitely wasn't his worst sub appearance coming on, and he needs to find something as well. We need to. He's with us for the long term, so we need to get something from him, and then if he gets something in one of the games, I think he'll kick on from that. But just build his confidence. It's so low at this moment in time. I don't think it's any any use everyone piling on him. We need to try and build him up.
I don't think he was bad coming off the bench at all. I thought he did all right. I actually think Elanga's defensive work has improved in recent weeks. I can see his defensive understanding is a lot better. I actually think his defensive work is probably better than Murphy's, if I'm being honest with you. Murphy, I'm never convinced defensively. And you only have to go back to Wednesday night. He loses his man, and the equaliser comes from that because the ball gets put into the box from Robinson. He's just not the best defensively, Murphy. I can see why Elanga came off the bench. We have to remember that Murphy recently has been managing an Achilles problem, and Eddie Howe said in his press conference he's currently managing a knee problem. So Murphy can't play 4 minutes at this moment in time because he's got an injury. So the fact that he's even playing with that injury is a big enough step for Jacob Murphy. So Elanga does need to come off the bench. He does need to give Murphy a little bit of a rest. And Murphy did fade quite quickly in the second half, and maybe that's why. It's because maybe his knee's giving him a bit of problem. He's not able to do his full running like he should be able to do. So we have to bear these things in mind. These are the bits that don't get massively spoken about, is that, Eddie's having to manage players, and players are coming onto the pitch and they're managing injuries, but they still want to play for the cause. So Elanga is going to have to play minutes. It's as simple as that. So there's going to be caveats to different players in different situations. Toonami Oz had mentioned the point. Bear in mind, we've played all the top 6 at home already, which we have. But equally, what I will say to that is that we've got a lot of home games in the second half of the season where you would say they're really winnable games. So yes, we've played a lot of the top teams and not necessarily won them all, but there's a lot of teams in the second half of the season that you would say, the likes of Brentford, the likes of West Ham, the likes of Leeds, Palace, they've all got to come to St James's Park. That if we're on it like we normally are, we could put all those teams to the sword and really start to rack up some wins. There's a lot of wins for us there in that second half of the season. Just wanted to mention that one. Daz brings us maybe to a wider topic. Elanga and Isak, who's had or who is worse this season? Who's had the worst season so far out of the two?
It's not even close, is it? Not even close. And Elanga hasn't had a great season, but it's not as bad as the other lad, is it? And maybe that does bring us into that topic. This.
Yeah. So very interesting one. Obviously scored a good goal yesterday, but took an absolute clattering. Did any of you boys feel that was Van de Ven leaving one on him after what he did against him when he played for Newcastle? As a little bit of a payback. I felt like it was a little bit of payback.
I'll answer here first because, as people know, I don't watch Liverpool games because I'm afraid when I watch them Liverpool games, it's 0-0 and then they go and score as soon as they turn them on. So I don't turn on Liverpool games. But I wonder what happens when they're winning if I turn it on. I'll try that sometime. But Chris, maybe you have more comments on you were probably watching that game.
Yeah, I did watch the game. Yeah. So for me, I mean, Alexander Isak's had the worst season. Because I think when you're a British record transfer fee, you expect more. And his nose has been firmly put out of joint with Hugo Ekitike. I think Hugo Ekitike is proving this season that he is a better all-round striker, and he's providing the goods on the pitch for Liverpool. He took his goal well yesterday, but when Van der Ven left one on him, I did think, I wondered if that was a little bit of payback. And by the way, I think they were trying to play it down, the injury yesterday, and there was talk of the stretcher. Didn't need it in the end. He hobbled off, but I think he's going to be out for a number of weeks, if not months, judging from that injury.
Yeah, they're already playing it down as not an ACL, but more of an ankle sprain injury, which will still be a significant amount of weeks. It wouldn't be surprised. I think it'd be in an ideal situation that he misses the game when we go to Anfield at the end of January. If he puts him out till February, I think that would be my ideal situation, because I just don't want him playing the game in Anfield, because you just know what's going to happen. But yeah,
I'd start your Lent in that game, by the way.
Oh yeah. Maybe that's what Eddie Howe's doing. He's building Joelinton up just for that one game. But look, Isak's definitely had the worst of the two. The fact that Nick Woltemade is on 9 goal contributions already this season, in all competitions. If you add in internationals, he's on 14, 15 goals. Goal contributions already this season, including internationals, is superb work. But 9 goal contributions for Newcastle United already this season is brilliant, which is exactly what you want from a striker. So we have definitely benefited, and Elanga will come good. I think he will get to grips with Newcastle United at some point, whenever that may be. Got a couple to finish on. Is Mbeumo at AFCON? I believe he is.
Yes,
he is.
So.
There's a few of them actually. So Amad Diallo is also at AFCON, and Mazraoui is also at AFCON. So Mbeumo, Diallo, right hand side is completely gone. Mbeumo, Diallo, and Mazraoui are all at AFCON. So they're missing 3 big players. It'll be interesting to see actually today whether Maguire and De Ligt play, because they've both got hamstring injuries, and I'm not sure whether they're going to be back for the game on Friday, Boxing Day, against us, and they've got that Haven playing centre back at the moment as well. So that'll be interesting how Man United set up today in the build up to the game at the weekend. Tanji's made a point. We have a third striker. He's called Barnes. Look at where he has scored goals from on the left, middle, and right. Eddie Howe should coach him to play as a striker. He can actually play there. I just wouldn't want him to, if I'm being honest. But boys, last real main question. If you had to pin this season down to 1 or 2 main issues, what are they in your opinion?
Simple for me. It's what happened with this saga and how it affected our summer and ultimately our transfer window, and integrating players in, coupled with the Wisa situation. So that whole transfer window thing is for one. And then the second thing is away form. We cannot win away. And if we have any aspirations to do anything this season, that has to change, and it has to change on Friday, on Boxing Day / Stephen's Day. They're the 2 things for me.
Chris?
Yeah, the summer didn't help. I agree. I think the summer kind of made it a bad start. But after 17 games, I would expect us to have put that behind us. For me, I think it's about attitude. It's about mentality. I think there's a big mentality issue still. It looks like in the last 2 games that we've turned a corner, but I am also still waiting or wondering how far away it is from us, dropping levels, and maybe even the tired excuses or whatnot. I do think there is a severe mentality problem still within the squad, because we're 17 games in, and yes, we look okay in the Champions League. We're obviously looking very good in the Carabao, but that's hampered us a lot at the start of the season. There's still time to improve. There's still time to, for us to turn that around. But it's just frustrating because really mentality shouldn't even be a point or a question.
How would you, Pete?
Yeah, 13 points dropped from winning positions is not good. That's been our biggest problem. I think there's been an element of a lack of confidence from the players, in not necessarily in the manager, but in the setup of the team. I think there's You know, when you've got Alexander Isak that makes those runs in the behind, when you've got a player of such a high level and ability, it brings out a confidence in everyone else about going about their job. But I think there's been an element of players being unsure of being confident of being able to do what they need to do to win matches, which is why I think that natural lull of dropping back into defensive positions is that I don't think that they are confident enough in being able to continue to play the way they can for 90 minutes. I think there's because Nick Woltemade plays a different way, it doesn't allow us to be all action and all press and all in and behind. I think Johan Wiese would have changed that had he have not got injured. I think it would have given us a confidence that I believe that we've had in the last few games since he's come back into the team. I think it's given us a confidence that we can play a certain way now. Even when Johan Wiese came onto the pitch, he's making runs in and behind defenders. We're playing balls in and behind defenders. We're asking different questions. It's giving the team confidence that we can play a certain way. And I think that we will see the benefit of that in the second half of the season. Of course, we talked about the other things. The injuries have been a big issue. We haven't had massive amounts of injuries, but they've been to the wrong players. Players that we actually need to stay fit in this team. If it was, other positions, if it was an injury continually to the likes of Kieran Trippier, for example, we had Tino Livramento would have been okay. If it was a continual injury to a Dan Burn, we'd have had Sven Botman, but we've had both of them injured. We've had Trippier and Tino injured. We've had Hall injured. We've had key players injured that affects the way we play. We need to keep those players fit. So there are a couple of reasons behind it as well. So it is what it is. But I'm confident in the second half of the season that we can start putting wins together. That is for sure. There was one more. I'm not going to do that one because I haven't got time. Just want to keep an eye on lads. Toonami put this in the chat. West Ham are in trouble though. You look at the table. I didn't realise how far off they are. One of the lads in Magpies I've put this in this morning. So they're 5 points adrift of Forest in the
What's it have to play it?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be an interesting situation. And the reason why I think that's interesting, lads, is because obviously they're selling Fulkrug or moving him on to AC Milan. So Fulkrug's going in January. I'm not sure if they're struggling financially and they might need to move on a couple of players in January to be able to strengthen the squad. Maybe that's where the Bowen links come from. You know, when we talked about the Bowen links the other night?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why maybe they need to sell in order to be able to properly strengthen the squad. Links with Paqueta as well, with Aston Villa. Want to keep an eye on, boys. Didn't know what you thought.
If they were to sell Jared Bowen, that's a white flag. We're going down. That's given up. So they can't do that, and I don't think West Ham fans will allow that either. So, and we know the whole situation. He's wedded to West Ham as things stand. But if they were to go down, he needs to move. And I suppose his England place as well is questionable, I suppose, with what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. What are your thoughts on West Ham really quickly? Obviously, Toonami had mentioned it, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the three promoted clubs. So obviously, Burnley, Leeds, and Sunderland. And Leeds and Sunderland look like they're going to have enough to stay up, which means that obviously two existing Premier League clubs, or from last season anyway, have got to go down. So you then start pointing fingers and going, well, who are those two clubs going to be? And obviously Wolves look like they're going to be one of them. And then the other team, you start looking around, and I'm like, for me, I thought it was going to be Brentford, but it now looks like it could well be West Ham. And the reason, well, the difference being, and people always speak about this, don't they? You need a striker who can score goals. And in Thiago, Brentford have got a striker who can score goals. In Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Leeds seemingly at the moment have a striker who can score goals. And you look at West Ham and you go, other than Jared Bowen on that right wing, who's putting the ball in the back of the net for West Ham, and that's the issue. It's not having players who can put the ball in the back of the net for them.
Somerville is a decent player as well for them. Crescendo Somerville. Yeah.
He's never going to get double
He's
figures.
not a goal scorer.
No, he's not a goal scorer. No, he's a good tricky winger, but he's on the left predominantly. But let's watch this space. Watch what happens to West Ham. I suppose watch Dan Lawless. See what his thoughts on things there as well.
He's been very, very quiet, Dan Lawless, I have to say. He's just going about his business very, very quietly. But what he did put on in our chat, he put on a video of the owner's wife putting out an Instagram post at the Man City game yesterday, saying something like "Great game, Man City" or something like that, like literally giving Man City loads of positives. He's like, "Hold on, you're the wife of the owner of West Ham, and you're like bigging up Man City, like that's like an Mike Ashley moment. That is like, well, what are you doing here?" And they do have all the hallmarks of a team that's potentially getting relegated. I would love to see Newcastle United go rogue and go somewhere different. They're not going to do this, by the way, but I'd love them to just go, you know what? Let's just go for the now. Let's just go and put a bid in for someone like Jared Bowen or someone that's a little bit older, a bit of experience, like we did with Wisa, and just go, right, we're going to buy him for now. We want to improve now. Let's go and buy him now. They won't do that for financial reasons, and it won't necessarily be justified in any way, shape, or form long term. But I would love to see that in January. Just a player like him to just go in and just go, you know what? Let's go for the now. Let's go and buy that player that's going to make a difference to the team, and let's kick on. Because a player like that can play on both wings, can play up front. They're a versatile player. Like I say, it would just be really nice to see us take that step to show that, you know what, not everything's for the future. Something's for now. We want to instill our position in European football this season by buying a player of that ilk, that quality. But
who knows, Pete?
Sorry?
Who knows? Maybe it's a topic for a fully loaded transfer show in the not too distant future.
We are ready to go. We just need to find a time and a day that we can do, and we'll be back in business. Interestingly enough, in the next couple of hours, Leo will be coming over. He's bringing the family over, so we'll have some time this afternoon to talk about some of these links. He was in the TalkSport studio yesterday, watching all the matches and stuff. So we'll have a catch up, and I'll see what availability he might have over the Christmas period, and maybe get him on to talk about some of these links, because there's a few French-based players that are taking interest, or that Newcastle are taking interest on. So we will see. Let's see what we can cook up over the next week or so.
Right, that is it. We'll say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for sticking with us. Smash that like button on the way out. We will see you soon. Good day, everyone.
Good
Bye-bye.
day.
Oh, come on, move a little closer. Come on, I wanna hear you whisper. Come on, settle down inside my love. Down in love.